you looking for a beginner-friendly sewing project that won't break the bank? All you need is a thrifted pair of pants like this, and you can turn these into a really cute overall dress like this. This is a super duper beginner-friendly project. Even if you've never sewn clothing before, I promise you, you'll be able to make this. I'll show you how to do it step by step. Hi, my name's Abby and I run DIY Fashion Rebel. I'm on a mission to help absolute beginners start wearing their own me-made clothes quickly. So if that's your goal, hang around, subscribe below. I'd love to help you manage this. Now, my number one tip for you is that if you're unsure of how to get started, just jump behind your machine and practice. Pick a project. Pick this one. Pick one from any of the other amazing people here on YouTube. No matter what you decide, pick one and try it. I promise you that's the fastest way you're gonna actually be able to get into wearing clothes that you've made. If you're still feeling just a little bit nervous about your sewing machine and how to use it, I've put together a free 5-step guide for you below. You can grab it in the description, and it shows you everything you need to know to set up your machine and start sewing with it with confidence. Okay? So grab that, start feeling confident with your machine, and then pick a project. And if that project is this overall dress, then let's jump in to see how we can turn our pants into what will become the front and back of this project. So here are the pants I will be using. A friend of them gifted to me, and they are this gorgeous greeny teal corduroy. I'm so excited. So we're gonna come down here to the hem of our pants and grab our seam ripper and seam rip open this inner seam. Now, if you don't want to spend the time to do this, because it does take a minute to seam rip everything, you do have the option of just cutting this open, but you will lose about a half an inch of fabric. So if you're worried about having enough, I would go with seam ripping. Once you've either seam ripped or cut open this inner seam, you'll notice that the front of the leg is narrower than the back. And this will be really important later, so keep this in mind. But for right now, the next step we're going to do is measure up from the hem of our pants to the crotch point. The easiest way to do this is to take a ruler, line it up with the hem of your pants, and then just measure from the crotch point or that seam down to the ruler. Then use that measurement to mark a couple of points along the pant leg and then connect those points with a line. Now, the reason we're doing this is because the crotch point is going to be the widest part of the pants, and you want to have the most amount of fabric to make sure that this dress fits all the way around you. Okay, so I drew mine in. It's a little bit high. I want it to be right here at this crotch point. So I'm just gonna lower my line a little bit. If that happens to you, not a big deal. And once you draw this line in, just cut right along here. And now that it's cut, we can unfold this, and you see this is what we will now use for the front or back of our dress. Ah, so exciting! Okay, now we're just going to repeat these same steps for the other leg, so that way we can get the back of our project. Now you should have two pant legs like this. Remember how the front part of our pant is narrower than the back part of our pant? What this means is that this seam that connects the two pieces is not in the center. It's off to the side because the pieces aren't even. Now, I don't know about you, but I really like to have my center seam be exactly centered. So what we're going to do is either cut or seam rip open these two pieces and then re-sew them together, the two fronts together, and then the two backs together. That way, our center seam is actually in the center. Now that we have 4 separate pieces, it's almost time to sew them back together the right way. But before we do that, we need to take out the hem of these so that way we can sew it properly later. And to do this, all you need is to take your seam ripper and gently take out this thread that's holding in the old hem of your pants. And once you take out several of these stitches with your seam ripper, you might actually be able to just hold on to this top thread and gently tug it out the rest of the way. If you can't tug it, you can just use the seam ripper the whole way, but if you can, it does make life a little bit easier. And once we've removed these threads, we're ready to sew our fronts and backs together. And to do this, all we're going to do is line up the top of our front pieces together. Line them up like this. Line up the center seam, the straight line, and then sew a straight line all the way down with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And that just means a 1/2 inch distance between the edge of your fabric and the needle. And you do that with a straight stitch all the way down. Next, we're going to swap to a zigzag stitch. If you're not sure how to swap to a zigzag stitch on your machine, check out this video I have linked above. But we're just going to take a standard zigzag and sew that zigzag down the edge of your fabric, all the way down to the end of the piece. And when you're done, it should look something like this, with your straight stitch 1/2 inch away from the edge and the zigzag right along the edge. And you can see here, the reason that we did this is because it stops the fabric from fraying. If I come down here to the hem where I haven't zigzagged, you can see I can just pull the threads apart and the fabric starts just pulling into pieces. We don't want that for this project as you wear it and wash it in the future. So this is a great way to finish those edges and keep everything nice and neat. Just one more step, and then our pants are going to be prepped and ready to be turned into an overall dress. Are you ready? I'm so excited. So all we're going to do is use our clips or our pins to attach these two pieces of fabric together. So we're going to lay them on top of each other, line up these side seams, and then starting at the midway point, clip or pin going down towards what used to be the crotch point of these pants. Once we have that clipped in, we're actually going to throw this on. So with the clipped edge in the back, we're going to line up the front crotch points, and then we're going to clip up about halfway. Now, the point of this is to make sure that we have enough fabric for this project. So we can put this so that way the pinned edges are on the side. We can line up what used to be the hem of these pants where we want the top of the dress to be, and then just move around a little bit, pull on this, and make sure that it's loose fit. Overall dresses are not super snug, so if you check all of this and you have enough fabric, then you are good to go to start making this overall dress. Perfect! Now you've done all the steps you need to prep your pants into these big pieces of fabric that you can use for the front and back of your overall dress. Now, one of two things happened during this last step. Either you pinned everything together and it fit perfectly, which is awesome, or you tried to pin it together and you didn't have enough fabric. And that's totally okay too. Now, if you had enough fabric, then you can tune into this video where I show you what the next steps are for designing your overall dress. And if you didn't quite have enough fabric, then check out this video where I show you how to add some side seam supplementary fabric. Don't worry, it's really easy. And if you would like to sew this project with me inside of my Facebook group, then definitely check it out. The Facebook group is linked below. I would love to hang out with you and sew this or answer any other sewing questions you might have. So wherever your sewing journey takes you, happy sewing.